Hi, welcome to the IT Collab. Today we are going to talk about just some Microsoft and world updates. I'm Brandon Barnes,
And I'm Nathan
and
Taylor.
we're going to get started and kicked off. So, what's new in the world, Nathan? What's going on out there?
Yeah, we'll do a little grab bag of news. The big news from this week was Microsoft had another
Hmm.
outage.
Huh.
Pretty big one. Did it impact you,
No,
Brandon?
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it personally, but I was on the call with a couple people who were really feeling it, where it was really impacting their tenant.
What was going on?
Um,
What was the outage?
so Microsoft got attacked by a DDoS attack. A DDoS is a distributed denial of service
Okay.
attack, and the idea is that somebody just sends a magic crap ton of traffic to a service. It just overwhelmed
Huh.
it. The interesting thing, and there's just some pieces of news coming out about this already, but I think there'll be an interesting recap later once the news is fully vetted. But it sounds like what happened was Microsoft has a bunch of anti-DDoS features in their Azure
Okay.
platform, including products called the Azure Front Door and one other product. And so they've got these products that are designed, or the content delivery network. That's the other product. And they both have anti-DDoS functionality where they can protect your corporate website from somebody attacking it in this way. And they have these different rules that try to filter out the traffic and allow your site to survive one of these attacks. And this is an attack that's been around for decades. They've been doing this for a long time. And it sounds like Microsoft had a misconfiguration in their own anti-DDoS software, and what it ended up doing was it actually compounded the effect of this attack, and they actually made the attack worse on themselves and took some of their systems offline. And so there was some pretty funny feedback from Microsoft that we got a DDoS attack, our system was misconfigured, we made it worse on ourselves, we fixed it, it won't happen again. But kind of a funny little string of events
How long
there.
was the outage?
It was like 4 or 5 hours, and it didn't affect everybody, but there was a subset of users who really felt some pain, couldn't. I was on the phone with somebody who couldn't like log into Teams. And I mean, if that's you, that's a big deal. A lot of us spend our days in Teams, not being able to get on meetings or send email is really disruptive. So, not a great thing, but
I mean,
you know, it happens.
anytime that we take out a user, I think it's hilarious because that's the time they usually end up cleaning their office. Sure. It's a good time. Yeah, you
Right?
gotta look at the positive here. Okay, you get time to clean up your
Good time to
office
catch
instead
up
of
on things.
email. Not distracted.
Right?
So other than
It's
the
hilarious.
outage, I mean, it affected some people. That's unfortunate, but it happens, right? And the outage time was only a couple hours versus days and taking out a bunch of stuff. So that's a good part of Microsoft. They're pretty good at recovering or doing the things. If we all know that their security is probably one of the top notch out there. So they're almost over vigilant on trying to make sure that because they know that they would be a bottleneck for a lot of businesses. Like this whole CrowdStrike happened. So what's the update on the CrowdStrike thing that happened, Nathan?
The update on the CrowdStrike thing is, they're trying, they're talking about how they're updating all their deployment processes, and you can see articles about how they're trying to make sure this doesn't happen again. But I think the most interesting piece of news I saw was the Delta Airlines CEO says that this cost Delta $500 million, this CrowdStrike outage. And he is suing CrowdStrike and Microsoft.
And
And
Microsoft?
he was making comments, yes, he was making comments, and he said, Microsoft is too fragile. The fact that CrowdStrike could take out every Microsoft system we manage is a problem. And I don't think that would have happened if we were on Apple.
Hmm. Okay. So riddle me this, Batman. How can I don't know how you can I can blame CrowdStrike because it was their software, their tool that did it. And
Uh-huh.
technically, Microsoft doesn't say, "Oh, it did it." You're dependent on CrowdStrike because they're the ones testing. Microsoft doesn't test CrowdStrike, right? They're the ones that you realize Microsoft is open, saying, "Yeah, we'll let you install this and we'll allow applications to work on our hardware or our software on the software itself." So, do you see how this could be a CrowdStrike versus Microsoft issue? Who do you think is to blame it?
Well, no, I think it's 95% CrowdStrike, but there's an interesting conversation that could Microsoft have better capabilities to say, hey, this driver is going to crash the OS. I'm not going to let it load. or I saw that this driver crashed the OS 17 times. Like at some point, could there be some sort of error correction there? Microsoft in a bit of a tough bind. We talked about this, that as a OS manufacturer like Microsoft or
Right.
Apple, you don't want third parties putting drivers into your kernel. That it's too powerful of a position. And so like Apple won't let you into the kernel. They don't let anybody in. Well, the European Union forced Microsoft to let people in because of antitrust, because Microsoft's this giant monolithic monster that
Yep.
just destroys other companies in their space. And so the EU says, no, you don't get to lock people out of the kernel because you have too much power. This is where that like
Right.
antitrust versus consumer safety versus when Microsoft's using it for bad versus when they can use it for good. And if they'd been able to say no, we don't allow CrowdStrike to have kernel access, maybe this wouldn't have crashed machines. It would have been a much lighter weight bug. So it'd be really interesting. I think often though Microsoft also responds to the market, and maybe people coming back and going, hey, your OS shouldn't be able to be crashed by a single driver. Maybe
But
they'll put some work in to make it more
you're
stable.
talking, I mean, specifically, you're talking about a software that's being installed, and it does. I mean, technically, I see some warnings when you're messing with the kernel. Even when you update your BIOS, it's like,
Sure.
hey, warning, this could
Yes.
cause an outage. So it's not like Microsoft doesn't
Right.
warn you, but CrowdStrike, specifically Cylance, all these heavy duty, um, you know, antivirus or tool sets that we use, endpoint protection systems use the kernel. So it's not
Yeah.
like, I mean, those are systems that do require drivers to be added to the kernel. So I mean, just saying, it's not like every software does that. But I think in my mind, I'm
Right.
looking at CrowdStrike
Right.
going, "You didn't do your own testing? Just hey." And like you
Right.
said in the last episode, so if
Right.
you haven't listened to it, Nathan does a great job of breaking down that a lot of their CrowdStrike automation was not tested; it was all bot tested or automation tested, where it
Mhm.
wasn't actually, you know, tested in a
Like
small environment.
like
Possibly, I mean,
like so many things in life, CrowdStrike made a bunch of decisions that snowballed into a worldwide outage, right? It was just lay off all your security people, automate all the, lay off all your quality people, automate all your quality testing, ignore your own release rings, not have well thought out, update procedures, and it's all of a sudden you have a worldwide outage. So
huh,
I agree, it's really
yeah.
CrowdStrike's problem, but if you're Delta, you're like, I don't care who gives me my $500 million back, I'm suing you both. And I'm sure Microsoft will settle it. I'm sure it's not the last lawsuit either. It's really disruptive when stuff like this happens. So it'll be interesting to watch that one.
Well, on
So
our short episode today, let's move on to the next subject, right? So CrowdStrike, that's going in. Lots of money lost. I think it was like 8 point something million machines were affected. That stinks. A lot of them are, you're able to get back. So what what's next in our world of Copilot slash Chat GPT automation, AI? What's going on out there today? Oh, nothing. Did I lose you? Can you hear me? Papa, can you hear me? Let's cut this piece out. It's funny. Um,
that's funny.
I'm still going. This is good. Muted.
Yeah, Brandon, I can't see you or oh, I saw a flash on your audio, but
Audio.
you show as muted on your end. Hmm.
That's interesting. Technical difficulties.
Oh, I see a flash, but yeah, you show as muted from here. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I wonder if we want to jump back out and jump back in. Wasn't meant to be today. Okay.
Speakers. Oh, look at that. Hello, 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 hello. Oh,
Back.
fantastic.
All right. You
I just asked you, so I could cut it out right there.
okay.
I just asked you what's going on in the world of autopilot, AI, blah, blah, blah. Time mark 11:45. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's some new news on the Microsoft front. There's some interesting things. There was a big earnings release. Obviously, Copilot
Hmm,
and AI is driving a lot of earnings, and these are publicly traded companies. And so Microsoft is there's a mixed bag of responses to their latest earnings. They spent a metric crap ton of money on AI. I mean, just the amount of money they're burning through, amount of electricity they're using, just it's incredible the amount they're spending to build out these data centers. So that got some interesting responses because some of the analysts feel like the amount of money Microsoft is spending is not corresponding with the amount of revenue they're driving. And there's a concern
okay.
that there's a little bit of an AI bubble that everybody just decided to spend all their money on AI, but it's not going to drive the revenue they hope, and so it might be outspending its ability to earn revenue. So there's a lot of articles about that, and I don't know how to make heads or tails of that. It's just interesting to see people wrestling through that. Um,
Right.
there were two other big things I noticed that were interesting. Microsoft listed OpenAI as a competitor in the AI space. And that's an interesting thing because Microsoft actually resigned their position as a board member and a board advisor for OpenAI. And I think we mentioned this in the AI episode that there's a lot of antitrust visibility on this AI front of the European Union and others are saying, hey, Microsoft, Google, Meta, um, AWS, you four control like 80% of the AI in the world. And it costs so much to spin up an AI, to build the data centers, to have this ability to scale an AI that it's kind of stuck in the hands of a couple companies. And so Microsoft originally built a lot of their deployment on top of OpenAI's product, ChatGPT, um, but Microsoft is definitely working hard to distance themselves from OpenAI, not only having less than a 50% controlling stake in them, they want them to be a separate company, but they're now pulling their fingers out of the board and they're actively developing their own AI platforms internally so that they can be separate from OpenAI. So, really interesting just to watch the ebbs and flows of this market as these things are developing. Um, the other cool Copilot feature I'm really excited to see, this is still a month or two out, but they announced it officially and I've heard it was coming, is the ability to schedule prompts for Copilot. And so it's
What
built,
does that mean?
it's a great question. So it's built kind of like on top of the Power Automate platform, if you're familiar with that, but it's the ability to say, what are you doing with Copilot? Hey, Copilot, tell me about my schedule today. Tell me about my calendar. Hey, Copilot, summarize my emails and communications with my boss from the last 2 days. You could schedule those things and have them sent to you so that you can have some of these cool features that Copilot does happen on a
Right.
regularly scheduled sorry, I can't speak, regularly scheduled basis so that hey, every morning I get an email about what are the last 2 days of communication with my boss, so I didn't miss anything. Hey, tell me about my schedule. Tell me about upcoming important events. Tell me about emails I didn't pay attention to that I should have. And you'll be able to schedule those prompts and make it so that those things happen on a consistent basis automatically. And I think there's going to be some really cool stuff that comes out of that. The ability to take what we're doing in an on-demand form in Copilot and schedule it ahead of time. So
Makes sense. I mean, I could see that, summarize my meetings for me, what's happening. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff. I've seen some funny stuff too, right? Like I have it write something. Well, now do it in Shakespearean, right? Or a funny one is do it in this Gen Z talk. It's a, it was, there was we do recap it in Gen Z speak. It was hilarious. So you
as
could have some fun with it too.
as my 11-year-old would say, that's cap.
Yeah, no cap, something like that,
uh,
something along those lines.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know, we'll definitely keep up with all that. And I mean, I'm using Copilot a lot, right? I mean, it can really help me. It helps me come. I can say this is I'm really good at bullet points. What I'm better at is where I can utilize Copilot is like, can you expand on it? Give me some ideas because I'm not a great detailed writer, but I can take what I have and make it
Hmm.
leverage it, make it better. But I have written some things out there, a couple blog posts, and even on my company website. And there's definitely some ethical things you have to think about. Um, Intellectual property, who is it, who wrote
Hmm.
it? Hey man, it helps my day.
Yeah. No, I think there's going
But
to be a lot of debate over that. I was using it for a demo the other day, and I took a 40-page document and had it create a PowerPoint from that 40-page document. And
oh,
this is a technical document. Add
a
some,
PowerPoint,
yeah, and it took a 40-page
nice.
document and turned it into like a 30 slide PowerPoint. And it was really interesting exercise of you got a technical document. You're like, can you help me through this? Well, the PowerPoint was bullet points on every key topic. It had an outline, it had a kind of a summary and a conclusion. And I was like, this is
Even
just
to get you started,
incredible.
right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
just incredible its ability to, I mean, how long would it take you to read a 40-page document and then turn it into a PowerPoint if you had to do it today? I mean, you're talking five, six,
it
seven
took you,
hours, right?
right.
It was
So it's a
literally
time
five
saver.
minutes,
Yeah,
5 minutes,
time saver.
and then you go through and you're going
It,
to
it,
tweak some of those slides, but it's like, man, it just accelerates your creativity process.
it really looks. I mean, I think it just really, if you look at it the right way. I mean, obviously, it could help people do their jobs. I mean, people say it could take your job. I think, if anything, it can really help you be more efficient at your job.
Yeah,
I can get more work done because I'm not writing out this memo that took X amount of time. That's really where I'm at.
yeah,
But
it's pretty wild.
uh, well, I think, like I said, today's a little bit of a short episode. Quick updates out there. Anything else you want to add to say to our few listeners? Mom, hey mom,
I
say
think
that.
we've got some exciting guests coming up. We've got a couple people that'll be fun to talk to over the next couple weeks. So we're trying to get more guests in line and keep it going. Hopefully, people are enjoying kind of the more consistent content, more relevant content to what's in the news. And yeah, it's been fun. So thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, no worries, man. Just to let listeners know, we're going to start getting a couple more things to support us up on the up on our site. Don't forget to go to the itcollab.com, check everything out, and hopefully support us in a few different ways when we start publishing that in the next month or so. But appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.